Hello guys, it's Matthias here, and I'm here with another South Korea election, this time the 1971 election. And honestly, I know nothing about this election. Yeah, just reading over it, seems like our good pal Park Chung-hee is back from the previous election, but that is literally it. So I guess we'll start with him, and we'll pause that so I don't get copyright struck. But yeah, so he historically won the 1963 election, which we so competently lost as him. But yeah, so he would be the incumbent at this point. Uh, he's supported by many people for leading the industrialization and economic growth of South Korea, which was devastated by the Korean War. But he's also criticized because he keeps trying to undermine democracy, which was highlighted in the 1963 election, I think. I don't actually know which election I last played. I think it was 1963. But yeah, it seems like the opposition's support is higher than ours, but we have a strong organization and numerous strategies, and if we use them effectively, we can continue a third term, and that's our only option for the party. So, alright. In 1969, you passed a new constitutional amendment for a third term to run for president in this election, in spite of numerous oppositions. The New Democratic Party, the NDP, criticized you heavily and argued that it was only the beginning, and you would eventually try to become a permanent dictator. Do you have something to say about the constitutional amendment? We can try and argue for the unification of North and South Korea, which I don't think is all that important. We can call them ragtag and bring up, President Roosevelt, which honestly I don't think is the best option, because, A, different country, and B, President Roosevelt did face a little bit of competition for running for 4 terms, so that's probably not the greatest thing to bring up. So I think we should bring up, oh yeah, we just want an economic development, definitely. So yeah, we'll just bring up the economy since that seems to be one of our strong suits. Economic development is your main achievement and was one of the reasons for your coup, according to your argument. Emphasizing the economy can mitigate criticism toward the amendment as much as possible. Okay. So let's see here. Okay. How are we looking? We're 3% behind. So not great, but oh well. In July 1970, the Gyeongbu Expressway connecting Seoul and Busan was completed. Do you have any additional plans for large-scale transportation projects? We can build the Yongdong. Wait, Yeongdong? I don't know how to pronounce that. Sorry, I thought I could pronounce that, and I cannot. But we can build an expressway connecting Seoul and yeah, I don't feel like continuing to butcher Korean. So we can connect it east and west with the expressway. Oh, we can say that this is enough, which I don't think we want. We can say that traffic congestion in Seoul is very serious, and building a metro system will help distribute traffic. Or, well, I'll think about it in my third term, only when elected. No, that one's just, yeah, that one is not great. We actually do need a plan. Hmm. Oh, wait, our support's over here. Okay. Do we get traffic? No, we don't get traffic. No crap. Let's do this place, the one that connects Korea from east to west, because Seoul is pretty solidly in the opposition, so we don't need to improve their lives, because, that isn't morally questionable at all. We just need to make our supporters happy. Unfortunately, the ratio of owning a car in Korea is very low, so even at the beginning of the construction, there were claims that it was a waste of money. A second long-distance highway is still considered by many to be premature. Oh, well, okay, that might not have been my smartest play then. Yeah, okay, yeah, oh well. Not long ago, it seemed that Yu Chun-san, leader of the NDP, would run as opposition candidate in the next presidential election. However, inside the NDP, which wants to innovate the so-called 40s candidate theory has emerged, and three young candidates, Kim Dae-jung, Kim Young-sam, and Yi Cheol-seung, are suddenly creating a sensation. Is there a particular candidate you want to keep in check? Um, hmm. So we know he's going to be our opponent, but I don't think we can stop him from running. So we might just want to attack the weak link. So let's just try and go after the weakest one. So you were right, and Yi's support has declined considerably. On the other hand, Yu supported Kim Young-sam and announced his resignation, and the primary is about to be so competitive between Kim Dae-jung and Kim Young-sam. Okay, so I don't really know. That actually decreased our support. As everyone expected, you were nominated for the DRP's presidential candidate. Do you have anything to say as you accept the nomination? Um, Oh, we can talk about being strong enough to deal with the threat from North Korea, and that's pretty good. We can talk about law, order, and stability. Or we can talk about, our national development. Let's see how everyone is to North Korea. Hawkish, 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 hawkish. Okay, cool. Everyone hates North Korea. Big shock there. We're going to, yeah, come out against them, because why not? An emphasis on North Korean policy would help you, particularly in Gangwon. Okay, so, we are not getting back the support I thought we would. As a result of the NDP primary, Kim Dae-jung overturned the expectation that Kim Young-sam would win, and he became your main opponent this year. How would you like to attack Kim Dae-jung? We can say that Kim Dae-jung and Kim Il-sung, who's the leader of North Korea, have the same surname. That's just kind of stupid. Kim is too conciliatory with North Korea. I have a strong suspicion that he's a communist. I don't need to attack him since I'm already going to win anyway. That's stupid. Kim is too young and inexperienced to be president. I don't think he would do any good to our thriving economy. No. That one I feel like they might actually want because, young candidates are generally fairly popular. We have no guarantee that we're going to win anyway, and we don't have enough achievements to try and run that route. And this is just stupid. So we're just going to say, oh yeah, he's a communist. Of course, he is not. However, this kind of attack is simple, but has a great effect. During the election, Kim would spend a considerable amount of time refuting propaganda that he is a communist. So glad nothing's changed since 1963. Breaking news. Jung Tae-il, who was working as a worker at the Pyeonghwa market in Seoul, attempted to burn himself to death to demand improvement in working conditions and compliance with Labor Standards Act, and eventually passed away. Do you have anything to say about this unfortunate death? We can just, stay quiet. We can say that the demands are too much, or we can say that we apologize to the families and offer strong punishment for the companies that violate the Labor Standards Act. And I think that one is the best one to do. This is the best response you can take under the current circumstances. Nevertheless, it seems that the darker side of steep industrialization has become known to society at large for the first time. That is okay. We actually gained support back for that, so we're gonna try and win North Chungcheong. The death of Jean Tae-il made the treatment and welfare of workers a major issue in society. How do you plan to improve human workers' basic human rights? Welfare. My God, have there been so many socialists? Economic development means better work. No, that's just offering nothing. Strict adherence to the laws we already have can create fairly reasonable working conditions. I will strengthen punishment for companies that violate the Labor Standards Act and also conduct strict crackdowns. That one's too vague. I think this is the best one. Everyone was quite surprised, as this was not at all the reaction people were expecting from you. Of course, workers like your change of position. So, what about the people? They did not like my change in position. Another breaking news, the Namyang Ho, a passenger ship that was sailing from Jeju to Busan, sank, killing 326 people. The cause of the thing itself was excessive cargo loading, but the cause of so many deaths is the Coast Guard's late rescue. What's your opinion? Damn, another big accident? Again? I can feel my approval ratings dropping rapidly. We can try and keep it out of the news, which is stupid. We can hold the Coast Guard accountable for this incident and disband them. Or, yeah, we can offer strong punishment for the perpetrators and comfort the family and compensation. The bereaved family seems to have been somewhat satisfied, though not completely, with your quick response. Okay, so we're handling these crises fairly okay, actually. But yeah, we're still having some difficulty. To what extent will you emphasize industrialization during your campaign? A lot. It's my biggest achievement. Because of the Jeontai-il incident, if I mention industrialization, it may backfire. Let's focus on other policies such as anti-communism and diplomacy. We can say we're gonna bring industrialization further, or we can attack Kim Dae-jung's industrialization policy. I don't know what mass economy is. I would actually need to look that up, but I don't want to take a risk on this. So we'll just go with the other policies such as anti-communism and diplomacy, because I don't want the Jeontai-il incident to explode. What? Why on earth would you not mention your biggest achievement? Why? Because working conditions are horrible, that's why, and it, oddly enough, seemed to be the right course of action. Many members of the National Assembly from the DRP have volunteered to help you with your campaign. Probably to get nominations in the general election. Where do you like to send them? Seoul, we don't have a chance of winning. We need Chungcheong, both of them. Jihola, we don't have a shot of winning. Jeju, we might. Let's see here. Yeah, yeah, we need to just have them focus on their electoral districts. They're moved by your consideration and campaign passionately. As the DRP is the ruling party with overwhelming majority, your support will rise nationwide. Is it on my side? Ish. It's getting better. Your advisors have come up with a strategy to significantly increase support in Gyeongsang. In Gyeongsang? Okay, yeah, I cannot pronounce these provinces, regions. I don't know what they call them in South Korea. I think regions. But it is to emphasize the traditional regional conflict between Jeolla and Gyeongsang, and stipulate that the confrontation between you and Kim Dae-jung is a confrontation between Gyeongsang and Jeolla. Okay, so we don't want to split up the nation. However, I will admit, Jeolla is pretty solidly in their territory, so we might want to emphasize that a little bit. Are you advising me to win this election by dividing people? That's so disgusting. That's stupid. It is quite a common political strategy, and one that I want to use to the best of my ability. We can only do it if he does it. We can betray him as the candidate of Jehola only, and myself as candidate of the entire nation. I think that works better. What a great idea! However, Kim claims that your strategy is proof that you discriminate against Jehola, and it seems to be accepted by many people in Jehola. Well, I don't care about Jehola. They weren't going to vote for me anyway. Recently in Korea, a rural modernization project called the Saemal movement was implemented to prevent the decline of rural areas due to industrialization. What do you think about this movement? Yeah, I think this is... Yeah, no, we're gonna say that we're gonna carry it out. Certainly farmers have high expectations for the same old movement. Okay, now we're getting somewhere. Yeah, we're gonna keep trying these two regions. That will be the main thing of our support. After the announcement of the Nixon Doctrine, a relaxation of the Cold War system called détente is appearing all over the world. What do you think about starting a conversation with North Korea for peace and reunification following this trend? Of course, I agree. Communism is not subject to converse and compromise, and there's no need for détente since I already have an extremely perfect plan, which is attack and conquer North Korea. No. Just 3 years ago, North Korea sent operatives to Seoul to assassinate me, and armed North Korean soldiers infiltrated Gangwon to massacre civilians. I will not pursue any conversation until North Korea apologizes for these provocations. Never. People are hawkish about it, so I think it's best to kind of take a hawkish stance on it. This is a tougher stance than your previous argument, but it was well received in line with the anti-communist atmosphere that's prevalent in Korean society. Okay. Kim Jong-pil, who has always been your closest aide since he came to power, tried to run as your successor in this presidential election, but was thwarted by you running for a third term. Is there anything you would like to promise him to soothe his discouragement? We can appoint him as the next prime minister. We can support him as the successor in the next presidential election. We can't rely on him being our friend. Or we can consult his advice as much as possible. That one's too loose. That one is also too loose. I don't really think people actively want prime minister whenever they're trying to go for president. So we're just going to say we'll support him as the successor. Kim has some doubts about your vague promise regarding an election in 4 years, but he is satisfied and supports you. He's especially popular in Chungcheong, which is... There we go. That's what we needed. Oh, we're dropping in support, though. How interesting. In this election, one of your main promises of your opponent, Kim Dae-jung, is the abolition of the Homeland Reserve Army. Kim argues that the system should be abolished because it is problematic, such as the forced mobilization of reserve forces for national construction projects. Do you agree? We acknowledge that there are problems, but argue that our country's defense power will be severely weakened if we do. We can ignore it, which I don't think we want to. We can agree with this and abolish the Homeland Reserve Army and replace it with another system. Or we can say that he's a communist for wanting to abolish it. That might be good because everyone's really hawkish. So, yeah. He's a communist. Communist Kim Dae-jung. Through this attack, you have successfully turned the issue of abolition of the Reserve Army into an issue of his ideology. As a result, Kim shot himself in the foot by promising to abolish the Reserve Army. Hooray. That still has not brought us up yet. Oh, that's some really tart lemonade. It's fine. Okay, we need to visit all over the country. Yeah, that's where we need to go. Yeah, no, these two. Nothing else is as good as, the two regions we've been competing with. Kim appealed for support, comparing you to Yi Sun-sen, a war hero of the Joseon dynasty. Meanwhile, Kim Dae-jung appealed for the shift of power with Yu Chun-sun in Busan, captivating the public. What? How did that get us more support? What did he do? Okay, I think he campaigned for... Oh, wait, no, that was our... Wait, was it? I don't know which one it was. Don't know if it was our opponent or our closest aide. Oh well. Anyway, not long ago, the United States unilaterally notified South Korea that it would withdraw the 7th Division of the USFK. Can you tell me your opinion on this and the direction our country should take with its relationship to the United States? The withdrawal was wrong and protested it to the United States. However, they pledged to provide aid to help modernize the Korean military. We can say our defenses are up. We can keep trying to get it back. Or we can try and join the Soviet Union and China. That's just stupid. Which one is more hawkish? Because on one hand, we don't want to act like there's a national security gap, because obviously that looks bad on us. But also, actually, no, this one makes it look like we were just kind of giving up to the United States, being like, well, money's good enough. We need to, complain to the United States that how dare they bring American forces back to America. So we're going to try and get them back here. Your supporters like the answer, but Kim Dae-jung criticized you for the overly passive and weak portrayal of our country. Okay, that was kind of what I was worried about, but we have a lead, so that's something. I'm sure you hate this question, but I'll ask anyway. The longer you've been in power, the more severe your media control and oppression have been. In recent years, many people feel like freedom of speech is severely restricted. Why do you want to restrict freedom of speech? Been doing it for national stability, but I think it's time to put an end to it. I'll lift the restrictions imposed on the media before long. We can say that we're trying to prevent fake news. Because freedom of speech is an unnecessary luxury. What do you mean by that? I always guarantee freedom of speech. As you can see, the newspapers are able to report on Kim Dae-jung's campaign and criticize me to their heart's content. I don't think we can just act like, oh yeah, we got total freedom of speech, because obviously we don't. We can lift them, I think. Then, has the media regulation been tightened because our country has become increasingly unstable under your rule? Kim Dae-jung points out this inconsistency and claims that if you are elected, that absurd, fake promise will be immediately withdrawn. Okay, well, okay, we kind of screwed up there, but it's fine. Ooh, that was a big screw up. Yikes. After the Treaty on Basic Relations between the Republic of Korea and Japan was signed in 1965, the scale of trade with Japan began to increase rapidly. Do you think we should further promote exchanges with Japan in the future? Whoops. I think we might want to agree with it, because technically this happened under our own presidency. Actually, no. Let's say no comment. Yeah, it's not a major issue. Okay, that's good. Japan colonial rule was also particularly harsh, so I can't really tell which way we want to go with that. Kim Dae-jung has received high support in Jihola for his claim that you, a native of Gyeongsang, intentionally discriminate against Jihola, a so-called poor treatment of Honam theory. Do you have anything to say to refute this theory? Let him argue the ridiculous theory to his heart's content. I would like to use that theory as evidence of his hatred of Gyeongsang, distribute fake flyers all over Gyeongsang claiming discrimination against Jihola and attacking Gyeongsang. We can mention the expressway and the industrialization plans. We can try to argue that we neglected it for economic reasons, which is stupid. We're not going to do that. We'll just say it's under construction. Whatever your plans for the future, today's Jihola is still largely agricultural and barely has industrial facilities. Your explanation doesn't seem to be able to alleviate the anger of the people of Jihola. It's fine. Honestly, I kind of just want to emphasize industrialization, but okay. Currently, South Korea is dispatching about 45,000 troops to Vietnam. However, since 1969, several countries, led by the United States, have been gradually withdrawing their troops from Vietnam. Are you thinking of withdrawing troops from Vietnam too? The government began reviewing the withdrawal, but the majority of the opinion is that it is still too early. We must not only repay the United States for defending our country in the Korean War, but also help South Vietnam, a divided nation like us. I think it would be better to continue fighting until the United States directly requests a withdrawal of troops. We can start to withdrawal. Or we can say we will never withdraw until North Vietnam is defeated. Let's not do that. That's a little too far. I would like the communist attack, because apparently calling everyone a communist works incredibly well. But we'll just say that we want to help out South Vietnam. The middle-aged and old agree with your stance of emphasizing loyalty, but young people still fear they may lose their lives in Vietnam. Valid, but hopefully you are outnumbered. And if not, we can change that by sending you to Vietnam. Today, the groundbreaking ceremony for Korea's first nuclear power plant, the Kori Nuclear Power Plant, will be held in South Gyeongsang, and you will be attending the ceremony. What would you like to say there? Nuclear energy is very economical and has no pollution problems. Our government plans to build more nuclear power plants in the future. We can say that all coal-fired power plants will be replaced, which is not good. Or we can say that a lot of it will come from nuclear power. Let's just say we'll, build more. As you said, nuclear energy is considered a very innovative alternative energy so far. No Chernobyl yet. Okay. What places? Ooh. There we go. Yeah, they have more votes. Once again, the time has come to visit all over the country and meet countless people in person. Where would you like to go? I have to show that I'm a true candidate of the people. Let's go to South Jehola. No. Campaigning in North Gyeongsang can attract hundreds of thousands of people. Let's go to North Gyeongsang and show that I'm already a trend. The population of Gyeonggi is growing very rapidly, and it could be a decisive area to win in this election. Let's go there. Or go to Gangwon and emphasize security. In particular, we must focus on the claim of the abolition of the Reserve Army and attack Kim Dae-jung. We can bring in a couple more votes there, I think. Yeah, we can bring in some votes in Gangwon. Here we go. You spoke passionately in Chungcheon about the threat of North Korea and the NDP's security ignorance. Meanwhile, Kim Dae-jung, in front of hundreds of thousands of people gathered in Seoul, argued that if you win again, the elections will be eliminated and you will be in power permanently. Not horrifically shocking, but ooh. Okay. We're getting more regions under our sway. That's good. Recently, as drills, a form of military education in universities, have become essential and greatly strengthened, university students are protesting nationwide, demanding the abolition of drills. Get the cops into the university immediately and force the students to disperse. We can say that the protests are the fault of Kim Dae-jung. Or we can keep them from leaving the university. That might not be the greatest way, because I know the Vietnam protests in America lasted a while, so let's just blame Kim Dae-jung. I don't know. I don't really think there's a good solution for this. Well, okay. We went on the attack and accidentally made it more popular. My bad. Although outright election fraud is impossible due to the NDP's checks, you can use your power to take some kind of special measures. Would you like to try it? Of course. If I ask my officers to cooperate for my election victory, it'll be very easy to force soldiers to vote for me unconditionally. I used to be a soldier too. I can say I don't want to commit election fraud, which, unimportant. I don't need morals to win this election. Of course, if we use loopholes in the electoral system, one person can vote twice or 3 times without being detected. You know what I mean. Of course, spending the government budget on election campaigns is completely legal and can increase my support tremendously. What a perfect strategy. That is not a perfect strategy. It's fairly easy to track money. And that will get out way too much. Yeah, let's just do that. A series of voters have been bribed in secret according to your will. They'll vote for you twice or 3 times, maybe more than 10 times, as many as they can without getting caught. Excellent. I love election fraud. Oh, hey, wow, election fraud works. That's amazing. Sweet. What are your thoughts on the current birth control policy in our country? Oh boy. Last year, Korea's total fertility rate reached a whopping 4.53. Current policies are not sufficient to prevent excess population saturation. I will consider legislation imposing fines on parents who have 4 or more children. The excessive population is rather a burden on the country, and the current policy of creating a social atmosphere that encourages having fewer children and raising them well is very appropriate. Birth control policies worked great throughout the 60s, and I think it's time to loosen them up to ensure steady population growth. Okay, yeah, we don't want to overpopulate, but also we don't want to go the Chinese route and, put a strict limit on it. Let's just, create a social atmosphere that encourages having fewer. You created the slogan, if you give birth recklessly, you can't avoid being a beggar, and spread it. Fortunately, the people follow your policy well and are starting to have fewer children little by little. I'm kind of shocked that worked, but okay. I know there's a couple of countries that struggle with birth rates, and I'm not an expert on that, so I was really worried I was going to screw that up. But, oh well. Let's get more votes out of here. This morning at a press conference, Kim Dae-jung offered you a debate to discuss policy. If you accept, it'll be broadcast live across the country on TV and radio. Would you accept his offer? If I can defeat Kim in a debate, it can be the best chance to secure my victory. I will attend the debate, emphasize Kim's inexperience and my rich experience in contrast. What's the point of discussing his unfeasible policies? This is just a ploy to create an opportunity to turn the tables at the end of the election. Let's ignore and focus on the local campaign as we do now. I will attend the debate and criticize the promises born out of Kim's ignorance. I will, of course, ignore his sly suggestion and instead make a TV and radio address to explain my achievements and commitments to the people. Let's criticize him for the promises, because I know that's really unpopular. So, yeah. In my opinion, you're too kind. Why? Because you acted exactly as Kim intended. Oh. Oh, I left in the middle of the debate? That was... Ow. Okay. After so many incidents, this chaotic election is almost over at last. Now I'd like to ask you 3 final questions. The first question, are there any election strategies that you'd like to use again? Election manipulation, there we go. That's what I want. Have you ever heard of the Korean saying that if the tail is long, it's bound to be stepped on? Oh, the fraudulent ballot box which was being transported in Seoul was eventually discovered, and the next day is reported to the whole nation through the newspaper. Now it will literally take a miracle for you to win. Ooh. Oh yeah, it would take a miracle for me to win. Oh, whoops. I'm starting to think this election fraud thing wasn't my smartest ploy. Would you like to make one last appeal to the people to vote for you? Yeah, I guess we can go against North Korea. Will this appeal bring me victory? No. No, not a chance. Uh, There we go. Okay. Yeah, we lost this, and by like a landslide. I don't know why I thought. Actually, I know why I thought election fraud would work. It's because it worked originally in the polls, but yeah, probably wasn't my grandest plan. Whoops. I did not mean to do that. Let's see how bad this is. Hmm. Okay, we still won 2 regions. That's kind of shocking. We didn't win anything else, but, you know, that's unimportant. Okay. Kim defeats Park by a lot. Oh my god, what the hell have you done? Many people expect that even if you were defeated, you would have a close game with Kim Dae-jung. But unbelievably, you only won with less than 40% of the vote. You only won less than 40% of the vote. Whatever the reason for the defeat, your political career is clearly over. In the next presidential election, Kim Jong-pil will probably run for the DRP nominee instead of you. But don't be too depressed. Now you will step down from the presidency and go home. But the people of this country will remember you as a great president who laid the foundation for Korea's industrialization even after decades. Thank you, Mr. President. Well, that was horrid. Anyways, that's gonna be it for the video. If you guys enjoyed, like and subscribe. If you didn't, comment down below, I can do better. And I am sorry for all the butchered Korean and the dark humor. I hope none of it was offensive. But yeah, apologies for that. Yeah, I still hope you guys enjoyed the video. So I will see you guys in the next video.